Let's go indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's Sunday, March 6th, and your boy F. Dot is here. We got another episode of First Period for you. It's been an exciting week in esports. Well, I guess it's exciting because of where we're all at, really. I mean, relegation, frankly, isn't the most exciting point in time, but it's exciting because we're that much closer to the season, right? We have styled on the fact we have figured out who is going to be Europe's SPL representatives. So that's all over. Europe is actually just finished. North America plays today, and North America plays today. For those of you wondering, Team Flex plays today. If you guys have spent any amount of time in Smite Game Chat at all, you've noticed that everybody wants to know when the hell Team Flex plays. So they play today. What's good, Dergius? I see you out there. Thank you for hanging out. What up, Vendorici? And everybody else out there in Twitch.tv land. So really, relegations happened. Enemy was a big deal this week. If you guys didn't catch, during the week I actually had a couple of interviews with the guys about that. But essentially, Enemy imploded, split off into 1.5 to 2 teams. So there's a little bit of nonsense going on with that. We'll be joined a little bit later by Vetium, formerly known as Vitium. We'll be joined later by him, Star Hunter from Enemy, who is part of the group that split off of Enemy. He'll be coming on a little bit later on the program, so we'll be able to talk to him about why the team split up and where they're going in any direction, or anything really about that. But we'll start off with EU relegations, I suppose. Unfortunately, there's a lot of technical difficulties going on. Contrary to popular belief. If you guys didn't tune in yesterday, again, as I usually say, what the hell is wrong with you? But if you did, you got to see a little bit of action. All we really got to see was Midin's take on Reason Gaming, or rather, Midin's take on Leftovers. Reason Gaming unfortunately fell to Torpedo 3-0. From what I heard, that was a relatively quick set. But honestly, with all due respect to Reason Gaming, Torpedo just looked like a absolute monster lineup, and Dirtiest is in the chat. He plays for Reason Gaming, so maybe I'll just toss out because unfortunately nobody got to see the Torpedo versus Reason Gaming matchup. So maybe if Dirtiest, you could toss in your feelings about that set. No need to go too in detail. Just tell us a little bit about it, because things just weren't working. And all credit to the production crew from Hi-Rez, Peckies and Zayden, and everybody really put in work. Everybody tried to do what they could, but it wasn't anything like production did wrong. A lot of times you can point to a situation and be like, oh, well, this got unplugged, or this crashed, or whatnot. And even in those cases where nobody, who knows, like something weird happened, you can usually blame lack of preparation for that type of thing. Even when it's out of your hands or whatnot. But honestly, this was just some freak incident that kind of smoked us. And thankfully it happened now, because thankfully it happened now. But rather than the regular season, I mean. But unfortunately, we weren't able to really see Torpedo take on Reason Gaming. So, yeah, I'm sorry about that there. I mean, it frustrated us too. Like, I don't know. It's funny. I was just talking to some of the commentators on, yesterday when we were doing the European matches. And, I mean, I don't know. Call me a nerd or whatnot, but I legit look forward to this stuff all week. I really do like what I do. I really enjoy being a commentator. So, it kind of sucked. I got to cast a little bit of my set. Unfortunately for Hindu and Allied, they, didn't get to cast their set, which kind of sucks. Don't worry. Allied's going to be casting today. Allied gets a set in today. He will be casting with Brandon. Ooh, this will be the first time I think that Brandon gets to cast with Allied. He'll have the Randozos versus problem solved later on in the afternoon. So that should be kind of fun. For those of you that don't know, Brandon and Allied go way back. Pre-Smite. Brandon sprinkled around among a bunch of different scenes, and Allied mainly played Smash. You could basically both say, unless I'm ill-informed, which I don't think I am. Brandon and Allied both spent a lot of time in the Smash scene. I guess you could call them that their home scene, well, their original scene, if you will. So seeing them commentate together should be a lot of fun. Commentary between friends is always really strong because I've said before that I really enjoy conversational commentary. I want it to sound like two guys are just watching the game, telling me their observations that I might not necessarily catch, and just feel generally approachable. So Brandon and Allied, the Hans Nance combination should be kind of fun, I think. Can I explain what the technical difficulties were? Not really, without going into too much detail. There was just some issues that, as I said, not like preparation couldn't have really prevented anything. It was something freak and unforeseen, and I think we should be good for today. I'm pretty sure we should be good for today. But even in long term, we will be totally fine. So we'll see what happened. Regarding the Reason Gaming versus Torpedo match, Dergius, who played support for Reason Gaming, he's in the chat. He went out and said Torpedo were way more drilled. They had practiced and boot camped, and they just looked absolutely solid. Better than Reason Gaming in almost every way. For a team that Reason Gaming finalized a week before relegation, they did well. I agree. Reason Gaming was a very, like Dergius said, a sort of short span of just tossing together a bunch of players. So, and as he said, they had Torpedo had boot camped. They had really put in everything. Torpedo was here from the get go to really be in the SPL. Ninja Bobat, Game Hunter, Murder, former Kanye Life, Moex, and Carreño. I mean, this is a lineup. If you look at the names, there's a lot of familiarity. And Murder right there, when Titan broke up, he opted to go to a team that had to go through relegation. That shows you just how confident he was in those abilities. So, a meteor did not crash at Hi-Res Studios. No, it crashed on my farm in Stardew Valley though. I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley, just farming my face off. Acting like a solo laner. Speaking of solo laners, Nika has shown very, very powerful stuff. And Mogao was nowhere to be seen. Leftovers versus Myrmidons. Nika put on an absolute performance. Tins shifted over into the solo lane. And Myrmidons played with jungler Draudid, who's on the roster. But Seaster took over in the mid spot because Mogao was unavailable. He just wasn't around to play for the Myrmidons, and who knows, maybe Leftovers would have gotten smoked because they banned Hades instead of something good. But I think even if Mogao was around and not busy being banned a day before relegation, I think that it'd be a situation where Leftovers still would have won. Myrmidons did take a game off of Leftovers for what it's worth. Again, the broadcast was a little screwed up yesterday, so we didn't get to see all the games. The first two games we missed, and they were split down the middle. Leftovers won a game, and then Myrmidons won the second game. So Myrmidons wasn't dead in the water for what it's worth, but Leftovers really, it seemed to be like 15, 17 minutes in all the games that the Leftovers won, where it would just sort of, all right, everything's going kind of slow, honestly, for Season 3. Season 3, we see a lot of activity. The game was, as I said, a little bit slower paced than some other games. And then all of a sudden, 15 minutes, 17 minutes, everything sort of explodes. So, I don't know. Kind of fun to watch, honestly. And as we take a look towards the future of the SPL, and we see that Leftovers and Torpedo are going to join up, I'm excited this time around. Frankly, the last split for Europe was a little... The bottom two seeds left a lot to be desired, right? I mean, what Justice and Myrmidons were able to bring to the table wasn't really... Myrmidons wasn't so terrible. Myrmidons was sometimes, liable to get a win or whatnot. They were an absolute unwinnable. They had 7 wins on the split. But Justice, I mean, they won 3 times, man. I'm sorry, and with all due respect to the players, it's just no fun when there's always going to be a worst team in the league. Don't get me wrong. You're always going to have a Houston Astros. You're always going to have that team that just can't perform. But you're always going to have a team that can't find wins. But there's a difference between a team that can't find wins and a team that just can't perform. Like Denial is a 7th seed team, but they were 11-17. That's fine, and that's fun to watch, and that's engaging. And they're bad enough to have to go through relegations, but they're still there. And then Elevate just couldn't buy a win. Teams like Elevate and Justice kind of it's just not fun. So I don't know. It wasn't. I'm excited for Europe. I think the overall talent level has gone up. There will, of course, still be a worse team in Europe in the European SPL, but I don't foresee the worst team, whoever that will be, getting 3 wins in total. Colsey. So, if you guys missed the games yesterday that we did cast, I got to commentate with Brandon, which is always fun. We had a good time. And at one point, Leftovers won a team fight, and they aggressed onto the Gold Fury. And I swear on everything I hold sacred. I swear on everything. My Stardew Valley crops right now. I heard the jungler, named Jungler, who is playing Naja, sash the Gold Fury. I swear. I heard it. And once upon a time, in some show match, I was busy fiddling with my keybinds and my UI because Lord knows if you've ever seen me stream the game, during the week I actually play the game on this channel, and I have a shitload of fun. You guys should hang out. It's usually at nighttime. But it was some show match. I have a weird keybind system. 1, 2, 3, 4 is QER spacebar for me. Training my skills is 1 through 4. My UI looks like a WoW Raiders UI. It's whatever. I'm messing around in some menus, and I accidentally use Sash on a jungle camp. I mean, you don't have to look very far to find that GIF. In fact, if you go to the Smite subreddit right the fuck now, I'm actually the one front and center. You insisted it. This is me. This is me. No shame. But here I am. I'm auto running and I'm messing with my stuff, my keybinds. And I'm not even in the circle. Clearly I'm not trying to sash the minion. So I tried to get everybody to start looking at Jungler who had sashed the Gold Fury. I tried to do a little what we call deflection in the business, but unfortunately it backfired, as I showed you. Unfortunately it backfired, and well, I got a Reddit thread about the Naja. I'd much rather get a Reddit thread about that than anything else, though. Honestly, I am happy that the commentary staff get ignored a lot of the time. I think that, well, I don't think that. Last year, there were a lot of threads bringing up either quality or things that people don't like, and I think that it has been twofold. I do think that the fan base in general has sort of given up some of the sillier fights that they had about commentary, which was, negativity or incorrect thoughts about commentators having lack of knowledge or whatnot. I think it's been lessened a little bit there, and I think the commentary staff in a whole has gotten a little bit better and more knowledgeable about both the game and how to do our jobs. I think that we've gone a little bit better, which is to be expected. We always try to get better. So after a year, it just makes sense that we actually have improved. But I think it's a push and pull. I think that it's both, audience expectations have sort of come in line with what commentary goals we're trying to achieve. And then we're actually moving towards those goals that we're trying to achieve. So I think it's been pretty positive not to see a weekly thread about DM Brandon was too negative, or F dot doesn't know shit, or Adonis smells funny. Like, we just don't have those threads, which is pretty sweet. I think that's a lot of a lot of fun to get over. Sorry, my I have like some weird asthma type deal, and it always acts up in this like, well, it always acts up, but it always acts up particularly more in this shift from like winter to spring, and as we get closer into spring, it's a little bit more nonsense in the air. But yeah, Adam, there used to be like just a weekly thread on how it is just a weekly thread on nonsense. So it's kind of fun. I think that things change. You think Hyra is going to give pros a run for their money with the allied Adonis duo lane? We'll see. No coffee? Nah, not today. Not today. Frankly, I just ran out. I have some beverage here. Yep, I'm feeling that a little bit mugsly, which is funny. I actually didn't have allergies until much later in life. One thing I am allergic to is, okay, I have nowhere to go with that. I tried to segue into North American regionals, but I don't. There's nobody I really want to rash in this segment, One thing I'm allergic to is really shitty play, so screw it, Duro. No, that's not where I'm going with that at all. But we do get to see a Duro play, which should be a lot of fun. No longer called Elevate Randozos, going back to the days of Rambozos. I don't know if you guys remember the Rambozos. And again, I wish I had the files I had on my old on my work computer. On my work computer, I have all these files of footage from like North American Regionals 2014, and everybody looks so young. You want to talk about looking young, though? I was looking through my Instagram the other day, and I found a picture from the launch tournament of me and Aduro. Since we're talking about the Randozos, might as well bring this one up. This is me and the Dig Aduro 101 weeks ago. This was a long time ago. Aduro looking so young without his golden blonde locks, and me looking a lot skinnier. Hat's a lot cleaner. And then, oh, my jacket. Damn it. I missed this jacket. This was a beautiful Scotch and soda toggle jacket that got eaten by Anubis. Freaking Bart's dog. Well, I should say Bart's puppy. When I first moved down to Georgia, I moved in with Bart and Kelly, and I just left my jacket on the couch one day, and the dog ate it because the dog was like a puppy. So it was like my fault, but that stung. I miss that jacket. A lot. That is not the face I used for my emote. The face I used for my emote, I forget. I remember it was some sort of broadcast, because I was wearing the Sennheiser headset, the broadcast headset. Yeah, it was some like Esports weekly show or something. I'm wearing my Tampa Bay hat, and it was fun. It was the Digaduro going back down memory lane. That was one of the bigger memes in the Smite scene once upon a time, before 667 was ever a thing, or anybody put baby rage in the chat to signify Divios. Adura was the substitute for Dignitas, who was the powerhouse team in the day before Cloud9 or then Exertus and COG or whatever. That Barracuda Annenster team came through. It was a world run by essentially Team Eager. Laz's, Zapman, Shadow Q, the best, and Anatoly won everything. They were the coolest dudes on the block. And Adura was their substitute that never played. But he was the Dig Adura. So it was a lot of fun there. Allied is casted today. Unfortunately, his game, Reason Gaming versus Torpedo, got sort of eaten yesterday by technical difficulties. So Allied should be casting with Brandon. We've got the Nance Hans combination coming live, which should be fun. Whizbang said happy birthday to me on Twitter. It is not my birthday. It was my birthday like 2 months ago. January 22nd was my birthday. If you guys want to get me late birthday presents, you guys can do that. I would like a cow from my Stardew Valley farm, and I don't know what else. Maybe some main end. I don't even know. I never got to join Dignitas Shadow Shark. I never did. Unfortunately, no. Necro, man. North American regionals are today, and that's what Allied's going to be commentating and casting alongside DM Brandon. And we will be able to get to see a little bit of that Dignitas team that I was talking about before. Team Flex is going to be taking on Denial. Ooh, that's the one that I get to cast. I'll be on the call with Adonis for Denial and Team Flex. And Denial is an interesting thought here. Mace of the Face, Shadow Q, Bronx Bombers, Sikandara, and Walrus is no longer the lineup. Considering that Sikandara is Homofe and he's no longer there, and Bronx Bombers is no longer there, you can actually get the roster on one of our articles. So this is actually really fun. Small little insight into the process and just proof for all you fanboys that say Hi-Res doesn't listen to feedback. The last time we put out broadcast details about relegation last week, people were like, what the hell, this post sucks, there's no rosters, this is garbage, Hi-Res doesn't know anything, balance your game, matchmaking sucks. And so I was like, hey, can we include rosters next time? And Dan was like, yeah, sure, I'll put together a graphic real quick. And bam, there we go. This is included in the article if you want to find here the matches and everything that's going on, broadcast times. But these are the rosters. So as you take a look, Denial is Walrus, Adjust, Mace of the Face, Shadow Q, and Xenotronics. These changes were made a couple of weeks ago. So Denial looks so. I think this is sort of a sidestep for the team. Adjust is very, very good. Homofe is very, very good. I probably put Adjust a little bit higher just because of experience worth, right? Like he came number 2 at Worlds, and you got to mention that much. But Xenotronics, I'm just not familiar with him and how well he plays in that long lane. I've seen him on stream a couple of times with Shadow, and he plays well enough, but how does he play on the big stage, relegation, fighting to retain the SPL spot is up to him. So we'll see how well this duo lane goes, Shadow Q and Xenotronics. I do trust Shadow Q's thought process when it comes to building a team and roster changes and stuff like that. So I have some sort of level of trust for what's going on there. And as far as who they're taking on, it's now versus Team Flex. That's the team everybody knows all about. It's Matty Pocket, Dare to Care Labs, Incon, and Oceans, and that should be pretty exciting. That should be pretty exciting. I do think we're going to see a lot of Chiron between Xenotronics and Oceans. These guys love to play. Chiron. Who doesn't? It's like the god right now. But if you guys didn't watch last week or any of the open bracket stuff, Oceans is out of his world. Oceans is fantastic. He's really good, and he's a pleasure to watch. So Quantum Haddock brings up the big gorilla in the room, the elephant in the room, or the 99-pound crab, who knows it, in the room. Are there 4 SPL spots? So how important are these games? I mean, so here the thing is, it's really about the quick answer is yes, there are 4 SPL spots. How much these games matter is more philosophical than anything else, Personally, I think that, all the teams should try their face off, and if they don't, there's rules against players and teams being non-competitive, trolling. So, hopefully everybody decides to show up and respect the game. I don't think that anybody's going to really cause a problem. So, I don't think that's going to happen. But as far as like how important are these games, you're right. So the two teams that win today get the bottom 2 SPL spots, and then there's 2 remaining SPL spots that get divvied up. First, they go before they reach the 3rd and 4th place teams that would be considered, which are the Randozos and which. So okay, let's restart. Sorry. So there are 2 SPL spots available through relegation, and whoever wins out of Denial Esports, Randozos, Problem Solved, and Team Flex, the 2 winners of this situation will go on to take seeds 7 and 8, or those spots that Denial and Elevate, now Randozos, would have vacated. And then the losers will play each other to determine who gets 3rd and 4th place. But the remaining 2 spots don't go to 3rd and 4th place until they go through. There are 3 steps essentially to fill the spots that are still available, and those spots that we're talking about, by the way, are the old Team Solo Mid spot, which is no longer there, and the old Eager spot, which is no longer there. Team Solo Mid split up. Boosh joined a team with Snoopy. Boosh and Snoopy both joined the guys of Cloud9. Gars is on the Randozos, like I said. And then the other 2, Divios is playing with Eager and blah, blah, blah. Eager took Cog spot. That's a little that seems a little bit more complicated than it actually is. And because of that, Eager spot doesn't exist. Zapman is with the Cog guys, Polar Bear Mike is with the Randozos, Dare to Care and Lasses are together on Flex, blah, 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 blah. So there are 2 holes that need to be filled in the SPL after relegations have completed. So after everything is said and done with the games today, then if there's an organization that can get 2 of their old members together, then that organization can go ahead and claim a spot. If not, then it goes to captains. If the captains can go find 2 people, then the spot goes to them. And if neither the captains or the organization can fill a roster with 2 players from last year, then it goes to the 3rd and 4th place teams in relegation. So we'll see who, if anybody, sort of puts a sign up. Nothing's guaranteed, so you still got to try. Like I said, nothing's guaranteed, and you still got to try is the understatement of the day, I think. Because like I said, there are rules against anti-competitive play. You can't just be a troll. With that said, I mean, if unconventional picks are coming out, nobody hates fun here. We're not going to be like, how dare you do this because it's not meta. But, there are... It's like pornography. I know it when I see it, when it comes to like trolling and throwing games and all that shit. So we'll see how that works out. So Flex has a spot for sure. It depends on relegation. Like I said, they have to do it. No, I mean nothing's guaranteed at the end. People have to play and go for it. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. So, we'll see how it works out. I don't know. It comes down to respect for the game, honestly. Like, basically, the idea behind revisiting those empty spots was publicized and maybe shouldn't have been. Hi-Rez has always practiced transparency in the past, and in an effort to really like work with the fans and understand where everybody stands, and there wants to be a conversation between the company or the league rather, and the fans. And the players, of course. So that transparency is asked for a lot of the time. And it's given a lot of the time. And the few times that Hi-Rez decides to hold something close to the chest, sometimes that gets villainized. And I think, there's sort of a hindsight, I told you so moment here, where sometimes things do need to stay kind of, I don't want to say secret, but private, and by definition secret, I suppose. The basically the captains, the teams looking for the 2 out of 6 instead of 3 out of 6, and then players going to the third and fourth relegate. That was an internal process, and personally, Tom, like me personally, not representative of the league, I think that maybe next time around that internal process should stay just that, internal, because it leads to just these not necessary conversations, you know. I guess there would have been blowback from people that thought a certain thing about, oh, they just want team flex in the SPL because they're big streamers, which isn't even a thought at all in the studio. So there's mud on your shoe inside or outside, I guess, either way you look at it. But I don't know. I think that maybe next time that internal process should stay just internal. Hungry for More didn't play in relegation because they qualify for the SPL already, with the way their roster is made up. So they didn't have to go through relegation. They already have an SPL spot. They get the Titan spot due to, well, that internal process. And this is kind of fun because the Titan spot goes to Hungry for More because they have 2 out of 6 from last year, right? And that was the internal process, not necessarily the rule for relegation. And it's impossible for me to fault them. So I don't hold any negative feelings or any negative light onto Hungry for More. Hungry for More is Ataraxia's team because they did exactly what they need to do to get ahead. And I respect that, no problem. I'm not even saying this in a okey doke, winking, sarcastic sort of way. The rule was the internal process was publicized as all you need is 2 out of 6 to get in the SPL. Hungry for More saw that and was like, sweet, that's what we're going to do. See you later. And I totally respect every team's right to do what they can to be in the top. The SPL is a big payday, and I respect any team that's going to pull out all the stops to try and get there. But while I reiterate, I feel no ill feelings or negative feelings towards that team, I give Team Flex a super. I love the fact that they decided to play through relegation. Not only on the armchair coach side of things. It's good practice, right? The SPL, we talk all the time about how ranked is different than the big stage, and we talk all the time about how these new players like Oceans and Met Yankee stepping up into the Hunter role, and what's a just going to be like on the on the SPL stage. We talk all the time about this, about how they decide to play on these big stages and how it's different. Well, going through relegation is an opportunity to learn and play on the big stage. So Team Flex is a team that technically, will be able to just observe the internal process and go, okay, Laz's and Dare to Care will qualify and no big deal. But they chose to go through relegation. They chose to go through open bracket and then phase 2 and now finally phase 3. Whether it's, just for show, whether it's for practice, I don't really care. I don't need to hear out of their mouth that they played in relegation because they have the utmost respect for the integrity of the SPL relegation process, but I can pretend that's the case, and I think that's really fun. But like I said, more down on ground level out of the clouds. It's just good practice, and I think that any team that is working on putting a roster together, like most of these teams, the majority of the teams that we're coming into season 3 with for the SPL, whether they're relegating or not, are new rosters, whether it's just one extra player or complete reimaginations. Like Team Flex was built from the ground up. Dare to Care and Laz's played together on Eager, and going all the way back to when Dare left COG and joined up with this team. They've always been teammates. But Incon, Maddie, and Oceans are, brand new to the squad. The Randozos have more new players than old. Problem Solved is a brand new team. So getting these extra days, getting the extra games, these extra hours in the gym is valuable for these teams. So, I think it's important that players are going in. Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I would expect Maddie to say. Maddie said that he did it to test their skills. And whether or not if they didn't win relegations, I doubt that anybody would turn down an SPL spot. And while that's super honorable and everything, I've said before how much like I want people to respect it and understand that the rules that were revealed after the fact we're not really, you can't really think of them as rules. They're internal process and this, that, or a third. And I want people to respect everything. I wouldn't even advise these players to turn down an SPL spot. So I don't know if that would. I don't know if Team Flex would turn down an SPL spot had they lost earlier on. I think that might be short-sighted, but I definitely do think that Team Flex went into this to get their extra, what's it called? To get the extra practice. And, Hunty the God brings up something that always burns my biscuits, but it's the truth of the world, and that perspective or perception is reality. So, I like to think of myself as a trustworthy dude, and I hope that you guys, trust me as because I sort of do. I am definitely a high-res employee and a community member at the same time, or at least I hope I am, because I do the same shit I do now is what I was doing before I got hired. For what it's worth, I don't really know much that I can't tell you. I'm not involved in anything very high up, so it's not like I'm keeping too many secrets. But, hopefully you guys trust me enough to accept me just on my word that, the internal rule about revisiting empty SPL spots by the way that we've explained it was created before Team Flex was even an idea. So the conversation that Hi-Rez created this rule to let this team of big streamers in their league, like, that's nonsense. But even though it's nonsense, Team Flex understands that people are going to believe that because people are dumb. As my music teacher, Mr. Watson, taught me many years ago, people are dumb, and they usually just believe things at face value. So even though that is completely not the case whatsoever, don't know how else to explain it, that's what people are thinking. And so Team Flex wanted to dispel the rumors and just say, hey, you know what? Even if you want to think that incorrect thing about the rule system, whatever, we still got in the Pro League because we won and we did the relegation. That's an attitude that I expect out of players like Lazes and Incon and Matty Pocket, and that's fun to me. I kind of like that. I think that's exciting. And yeah, Jake brings up a big point that I think really sings true to what Matty Pocket represents. Matty just wants to play. Matty just wants to play Smite. I mean, he's been saying that for a while now. He was coaching. Matty was coaching Cognitive way back in the day, both Cog Red and Cog Prime. So he was coaching the team that would eventually become Cloud9, and he was coaching the team that would eventually become TSM. And, he was coaching for a long time and just wanted to get back in the scene. And, this time around goes so far to change roles and switch things up. And, I like to sit in Matty's chat. I think that Matty has a very unique stream, and there's a reason he gets as many viewers as he does. And it's that attitude. It's that attitude of just not even can do, although there is a can do attitude there. It's a want to do attitude. Matty's just like this dude that wakes up and maybe he's this negative dude. I don't really know. I can tell you from events and stuff, Matty's a super positive guy. And, I just picture Matty as the ultimate morning person, just like, no alarm, the sun comes up, and he's just like, up and at him, and he eats a watermelon, and then he just goes out and, like, fucking works to get better at whatever he just has this, like, sunshine attitude lately, and I think that's a lot of fun. So I think that's a good look for Team Flex. I think Matty will be valuable in that sense. I would love to sit along. Brandon and I were talking a little bit about the value of cheerleaders and positive influences on what players can bring to the table. And Jeff Hindla, I mean, it's been said that it's been said that Jeff isn't the best support in the world. It's been said that Jeff's communication needs some work or whatnot, and it's also been said in those same conversations that Jeff's communication has gotten better as he's tried to work on it, and he's constantly improving. And although he's not the best support in the world, he's definitely in the conversation for one of the better supports in the world. But sometimes he could use work. But the intangible side of Jeff is very important. Brandon told an anecdote that it's funny. I had the exact same experience. We must have just saw each other further down the hall. Brandon told an anecdote where it was late in the set. Cloud9 had just gotten beaten twice by pretty hard at Super Regionals. And Brandon goes ahead and he's just like, all right, man, head up or ready or just something you say as you pass in the hallway. And Jeff just looks at him and goes, 2 more, baby, let's do it. Let's go for it. And that's super valuable on a team. Ask any pro, and there will be varying levels of which they'll admit that, because some players, want to think that it's all mathematical and none of it's in the blood and the emotion, but that's a big part of it. And having somebody like Jeff, or having somebody like, believe it or not, Omega when he was on EAR was the positive driving force. If you talk to these teams, there's generally always a positive driving force behind them. And I'm not on Team Flex. I don't listen to their communication. I know that Dare has a tendency to just be hot-headed, which helps out his playstyle. He's an aggressive playmaker, and by no means is that a negative. That's just a trait. And Incon and Laz's Allied said, or Brandon said it on the broadcast. Incon can even be aggressive sometimes when everybody is trying to win. Sometimes attitudes go out the window. So I think Matty Pocket's going to be the positive influence for that team. So that should be fun. Has there been a public statement on why Torpedo was not streamed? Yeah, we talked. I went live a couple of times yesterday before we broadcast the remainder of the leftovers Midin set. Torpedo and Reason, unfortunately, they were just technical difficulties. Can't really go into much more detail than that, but I will tell you that it was seemingly a one-time thing that nothing could have prepped us for. It was just sort of a freak accident, for lack of a better term. The conclusion of NA Regionals will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which is, what is that? 3, I guess almost 3 hours? I don't really know. So, no, it wasn't Shadow Venom, but thanks for your input. Appreciate it. OPL qualifiers had similar issues. Yeah, that's rough. There's just, I don't know, kind of nuts going on. I hope they fixed what was the issue. So, I really hope that today will be fine. I think it will be. As I said, it was kind of a one-time freak accident type deal, so everything should be pretty up in line. Who do I think Fnatic will be picking up for support in jungle? It's been rumored for the past couple of weeks, ad nauseum, that Big Man Tings will be taking over the support role, and a guy named Jiffy will be taking over the jungle role. Nothing's been confirmed by any of the players or the orgs, and I haven't heard a damn thing from anybody, so I can't, chisel that in stone anytime soon, but that's been hot on the streets. That's been what's going on. As far as Fnatic is concerned, I have no reason to believe or disbelieve that, but almost literally everybody I've spoken to have said those two names, so I see no reason to not think that's the case. So, Amaterasu was available for this week of relegation. She has shown up. We saw her in the soul lane primarily, but Dare to Care brought her into the jungle, like he's done with Bologna and some other characters. So, I don't know. She is effective in the team fight phase, but doesn't really do much before. The ultimate's fantastic, but if you have a way to get away from it, she has a hard time against Odin because of that. You just ring her away from your team or whatnot. There's a lot of ramp up to her damage, so I don't know how valuable she is in the jungle. But she's definitely that aura when it comes to team fights is hard to ignore. It's a lot of power that she's providing for her team. And the movement speed, of course, is good. You never say movement speed is bad. But it's better when you're entering and exiting fights during the fight. You know, it's like I said, it's not a bad thing, but it doesn't compare to like just that power. So I don't know. She's playable. I don't think she's necessarily overpowered. I don't think she's a first ban. I don't think she's first ban material, but she's definitely sort of up in there. One team that doesn't have to take part in relegation though, and needs to start thinking about the future is Enemy, or at least was. They split up pretty hard. There was 5 members on that team, obviously, plus a coach, Coach Drelo, and the team went in 2 separate directions. Pain de Viand and Chaos are on one side, and they're actually siding with the organization. So Enemy is going to be Enemy will be sitting with Pain de Viand. Enemy will be sitting with Pain de Viand, Chaos, Panda Cat, the artist formerly known as Scream, Vizariel, I believe is how he pronounces his name. And they will be going on. That's their spot. And the remainder of that team, which a lot of people tend to think of as the real meat and potatoes of that roster, Vetium, the Vetium the Hunter, Salt Machine, the Soul Inner, although I think he goes by Benji now. I don't know if he changed his Smite name or not. People are weird. But in any event, Salt Machine, Vetium, and Jungle Man, and Drelo will be going in a different direction. They will announce their roster at some point. There have been some talks and some leaks, but nothing too set in stone. I'm going to have Vetium on in a couple of minutes to maybe shed some light on that. Maybe I'll get him to talk a little bit about what that roster is going to be. So we'll see a little bit more of that. But, you know, basically for those that didn't catch any of this stuff this week, I had sat down with both Drelo and Mask at one point, and then later on in the week I sat down with Frank and Clerky, 2 of the 3 co-owners for Enemy, and I talked to both of them about sort of a little bit about the situation, and then, you know, about the future of the team and everything. And from where it stands, it kind of just seems pretty amicable. Well, as amicable as these things get. Split up and departure. Pain and Vetium had some issues in the lane together. And it was just sort of like that wasn't going to work. So other people other people sort of chose sides and split up. And it seemed like everybody kind of knew that was going to go down. But I don't know. Didn't seem like too big of a drama fest. Everything was covered very quickly, which I thought was very fun and mature of the guys. And, you know, I'll ask Vetium a couple of questions about that. But essentially, it's a pretty dead subject. Honestly, nothing too interesting went on there. It's more interesting about where the teams are going to go. This roster that Enemy has right now, it's fun. I don't think it's anywhere near as strong as having Vetium, Salt Machine on the squad. I just don't see it. I don't see that being as strong as the old roster. And wherever Vetium, Mask, and Salt Machine wind up with Drelo and Toe coaching, I think is probably a better spot to be sitting in, if you ask me. But that's just my personal thoughts. We'll see where they wind up and everything. I'm going to take a minute to get everything set up, and I will see you guys in a few. Thanks for hanging out. And Vetium will be here after the break. I'll catch you in a minute.
Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Shit, I talk a city shorty, tell me why I shouldn't. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Shit, I talk a city shorty, tell me why I shouldn't.
Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Shit, I told the city shorty, tell me why I shouldn't. I'm feeling too smooth in my Gucci love shoes. Wrist cut without the DJ 1 and 2s. Chillin' in my truths, can't forget religion. When they say I'm fresh, they don't mean that I don't listen. Fly it in the full, any whip that I slippin' in. It gotta be a drop, so if not, I ain't sitting. Strapped like a whippin', come after my cheese like some rats in the kitchen. When I clap, I ain't missing. They say time is money, your clock ain't ticking. So I'm drinking all of the money while y'all sippin'. Everybody eats, you heard it, of course. So I feed all of my niggas like umbilical cords, but no kids. Only thing my chick pushes a Porsche. No boomerang paper, only things that I toss. If it fits on a nigga, you know I gotta rock it. Only wear it once, so I don't got a closet.
Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Shit, I talk to City Shorty, tell me why I shouldn't.
Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Whatever fits on me, yeah, that's what I look good in. Shit, I talk to City Shorty, tell me why I shouldn't. If I got them on my feet, you know they brand new. Cause I party like every day's Cancun, swagger jack, cause they watching how this man move. I swear that you should see some of the shit these fans do from the finish line. Because you know I ran through all the checks I was feeling, probably they and too. Cause when you get on point, the shorties notice it. And now your chances is better for you to stroke a chin. Even the code I'm in could be a scholarship. And I'm bowling.
All right, we're back, and we've got Vitium around. I think I pulled this off right. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see how it works. Anyway, what up, Vitium or Vetium? I'm sorry, you've changed things up. It's been a while, but how you doing, Vetium?
Good morning for me.
I'm sorry, I had you muted. My bad. What'd you say?
Oh, I said I'm good, and it's a very early morning for me. This is about the time I wake up for school, but it's worth it.
Right? Yeah. So I'm glad you were able to actually wake up, unlike Allied and stuff. But you normally wake up for school this early anyway, so who cares, right?
Yeah, around the same time.
Anyway, thanks for coming on. You were pretty. You kind of hit me up, so that was kind of fun. So earlier in the week, like I said, I talked to some of your other teammates, and I talked to the org and everything, and but some of these people here weren't around earlier in the week. So why don't you tell us a little bit about just what went down last week with your team?
Okay, it's not too long of a story, and it's mostly the same stuff you've heard all week. But basically, it came down to me and Payne having our issues that sort of affected the rest of the team, and nobody really had fun with it.
Right.
So before all the drama started, me, Mask, Salt, and Raylo tried to kick Payne because we felt like his god pool and performance and lack of ability to fix certain things was kind of holding us back.
Right. You just felt like he
So-
wasn't doing it on the level as the rest of the team. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. And so with that, we went to the enemy guys as soon as we had the idea, because of course we need their approval because again, there's the one that contract us.
Yep.
So we went to them, and then we had a whole big talk for about an hour and a half where the enemy guys wanted to hear our side and then Payne's side. And, the enemy guys told us to scrim with the replacement
Thanks for the sub, guys.
and then get back to them. So we had one night of scrims with the replacement, went pretty well. Things even I think we went 1-1 in those scrims.
With the new support.
Yeah, and it just felt better.
Yeah.
Even though we lost the game, I'm not expecting us to 2-0 right away, but it just felt better. There wasn't arguing or anything.
Right.
So in our minds, things were going great. But the next day, after we showed the scrims and whatnot to enemy, they sided with Payne. It was just kind
Just
of
out of the
nowhere.
blue.
Pretty much. I think their logic was that we're sort of scapegoating Payne,
Okay. Right.
which I guess they could see if they weren't in the team for a while, because they don't see our scrims ever.
Yeah, of course.
So and again, Payne was their main point of contact. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure you've heard most of this.
yeah, exactly. That was the thing. I mean, were you guys really that surprised? I mean, the main person that spoke to the org was Payne. So were you guys really that surprised to learn that the org sided with Payne?
Not hugely, but we were surprised that they wanted to give up 4 of their 6 players in favor of 2.
You thought you had at least had a shot, right?
Yeah,
I guess,
we thought we had a great shot being the majority, but I guess they really liked Payne and thought we really were just scapegoating. So after all that, after they sided with Payne, we just said, all right, well, we're out of here, and we we found ourselves a new bit in support almost right away, and we've been scrimming. Things have been going pretty well, and I am happy.
So when you guys were trying to replace Pain, and you said everything was going well, who were you playing? Was it one person, or were you playing with a group of people? Were you just trying different guys out?
We only tried one support because we only needed to try one support. The first one we tried was just a huge success, so we're going with that person.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Who can you tell me who that was, or
not yet.
oh,
Maybe
okay.
maybe later this week.
Okay, so that answers my follow up question, which was, is this support the person you're going to be playing with in the future? Like, because
Yeah.
obviously you guys are putting together a team. You're not going to. Well, enemy doesn't want us, so fuck Smite. Like
Yeah.
that's clearly not what's going on. You guys
Oh,
are a
God,
stellar team.
I'm quitting. I'm quitting. No point.
You're gonna go play competitive Battleship or something, right? Like,
I'd play Global Agenda.
oh my, I've seen you play Global Agenda. You kill it. You're like
I,
you and all 7 other people that play that game are really good at it.
that's that might be stretching.
But so the guy that you were trying out in place of Pain, he's going to be on the new roster. This is the team.
Yeah, and we didn't originally want to give up Chaos, but you know, things just sort of went as they did, and the replacement we found for him has been very good as well. So
Word.
we got 2.
Well, it does make me happy that you didn't want to give up my fellow Long Islander. It makes me happy. Everybody needs a little New York in that team, in their team. So talking about your team, you don't so you don't want to tell us who's on the team just yet?
Not yet.
Why
Later this
not?
week, I think.
Is there like a reason behind it, or is it just you guys are waiting to throw a party when you announce?
It's just sort of a team decision. I can't really say without the approval of everyone else because, you know, some people might not like it.
All right. Well, I'll ask you flat the fuck out. Is it the Obi and Friends thing that's out there? Everybody is pointing to this like amalgamation of you guys in denial. It's not a quiet rumor. So I'm just gonna flat out ask you:
Maybe.
is that close to the truth?
Maybe.
Oh my
Maybe not.
god. Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not.
All
You'll
right.
have to see.
that is the worst answer, but I think a lot of people out there sort of get the wink wink nudge nudge that's going on. And if you connect the dots, I think we can figure out why people want to keep things quiet. But in any event, the 3 of you guys plus whatever 2 brothers you can find together to play on your team. I mean, it's gonna be exciting. You guys played with Pain and Chaos, and like you said, you didn't want to give up Chaos. How do you feel that your mystery lineup will fare versus the old enemy? Do you think you made an upgrade?
I think our not so mystery lineup will do very well against enemy. I think
Well, I don't necessarily mean just against enemy. I mean just do you think it's an upgrade from your old team?
I think so overall. The support definitely helps a huge amount. Like Pain, like other than the god pool and the us not really getting along sort of
Yeah.
issue, it sometimes in scrims we just wouldn't win games off of us just sort of like sitting back and like taking it, you know?
I mean,
Like
not just scrims.
us
We
not
saw
really
that.
doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in the SPL sometimes too. It's and I mean, you know, I've known Payne for a long time. I'm not trashing him necessarily, but you know, just objectively speaking, Payne, and for what it's worth, not all the time. Sometimes you and Payne made magical things happen in that long lane.
Yeah.
But you can definitely point to Payne for some of the problems that the team had during the SPL season. That's that's totally
It's
objective.
it's mainly our losses. Like our losses end up being really hard because once we're behind, we just sort of took it. We didn't really like we didn't know what to do.
Right.
we just sat there.
Yeah. So you know, I was talking earlier about the value of having a cheerleader, but to extend that thought, just the value of honestly, like I don't want to sound too cheesy or Mr. Rogers, but the value of friendship is important, especially like for mid and jungle and hunter and support, right? Like
And we have a lot of that on the new team.
yeah.
Trying to keep it as friendly as we can. We're looking for games to play outside of Smite just to keep us friends, so we don't end up with any of the issues we have in the other team.
I mean, that's important, and I think it's funny. We're 3 years into Smite, pretty much, right? We're season 3, and all those weeklies that were happening, and I think that's the direction that we're seeing teams move in more and more. And you're lucky enough that you came into the scene a little bit later after a lot of the players had come, but we see these teams that originally were put together, and then all these like giant Titan teams sort of break up, like looking at old Dignitas and most recently where Cloud9 went different ways to just play with their friends, honestly. So you and Payne obviously were on the outs, but the decision to go with your new roster, were you guys friends before you thought about approaching the new players for the team?
Yeah, we constantly talked. We didn't always hang out. We just sort of like kept in touch because good players.
Right,
you never know. And yeah, I'm really confident going into the season. I think we could be at best we could be first, I think.
Ooh.
But at worst, I'd say Sweden.
All right. I mean, the top 3 go to Sweden, and I'm gonna give you the 8-team drill. All right. So, does your team beat Envy?
We have, like, I think overall, it's been like half and half, or like closer to their side in terms of like scrims wins.
But you and I both know that scrims are very different from the SPL, and I'm not necessarily asking your win-loss in scrims.
Well,
I'm just saying
we have to go off so far.
Sure.
I think we can beat them in the SPL.
Okay, yeah. That's what I'm asking. I want to know your team. Will you beat Envy? So you say yes. New Cloud9.
I'm confident.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. No, that's all I'm asking.
I don't want to say yes.
I mean, dude, I'm not gonna come 4 weeks from now and be like, I'm no Adonis. I'm not going to be like, on March 6th, you said at 9:07 and 43 seconds, you said for sure that you were going to beat. That's not what this is about. So Envy is a win. Looney Tunes versus your team. Who wins? That's the Barracuda team.
I think it could go either way, honestly. Like,
okay. All right. That's fair.
With Envy and Cloud9, I think it could go either way for sure. And actually, same with Problem Solved. I feel like all the top teams are sort of around the same point this time. Like, all top 4 teams are like insane.
So, I mean, you mentioned Problem Solved. You think they're pretty even. What about your team versus this enemy team?
I think we're going to destroy them.
Okay. What about your team versus Team Flex?
Same thing.
Your team versus the Randozos. Keep in mind, the Digaduro is on that team.
What is that? Is that Mike, Meerkat?
Yeah. Randozos
I'm not
is
sure the roster.
Randozos is Scary D, Gars, Aduro, PBM, and Meerkat.
I see that as more of like a friends team. I feel like we have.
So you're gonna.
Also, I don't think they're even in the SPL.
They have to play in relegations this weekend. That is the Elevate team that is taking on Problem Solved this weekend.
Yeah, Problem Solved.
So,
in the SPL.
So if they beat Problem Solved, they get to go into the SPL. But of course, there are 2 spots open and blah blah blah. So
aren't all 4 relegation teams going to the SPL?
Yes, they are. Quick answer is yes. It hurts me to say that because realistically 2 teams go through relegations and then 2 teams get invited after the fact due to an external process, but all of that is just fucking semantics at this point. So we have you saying that, Eager or Envy, Cloud9, and Problem Solved are all they could go either way. You think you're gonna beat up Enemy, you think you're gonna beat up Randozos. How about you guys against Eager? That's DJ Pernicus, Aurora, Zapman, and the best.
I still think we have the advantage there. I'm not too scared for Eager, but
right.
I haven't really seen what they can do yet.
And how do you feel about your team versus Denial? Silence. All I hear is silence.
I'm feeling good.
I mean, individually we could look at going down the line. You versus Xenotronics. I probably give the advantage to you and Xenotronics. You look at the jungle Mask versus Adjust. That's I don't know Mask because you have to play in the SPL this season. But really, I want to I guess we look towards I don't know, pick two positions out of the blue. Support or mid, how do you think that your support or your mid laner would go up against, how do you think they would fare against Denial's support in mid lane?
I think they would destroy them. I think they would absolutely wreck them. 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's fun. That's exciting. So I
Yeah.
I guess you guys would probably beat Denial in that case, just doing the transitive property. So honestly, from your stance, it sounds like your team is going to be one of the top teams in the SPL.
I think so.
And
I
honestly,
can't wait.
like, players come on and they got to sort of like pump this bravado or whatnot. But I believe that, frankly. I think that, I don't know. I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, but you have quickly ascended to a level where a lot of people can't ignore you anymore. I think you sort of went under the radar for a long time, but now you're one of the big boys of the Hunter lane, and Salt Machine does his thing out there in solo lane. He's doing his thing. He's drastically improved. You guys and Mask is Mask, right? Like,
I think the best part about having this new team is that at even regionals and worlds, if we went against Cloud9 or Epsilon earlier in the brackets, we would have
Mhm.
gotten absolutely destroyed. And I really don't like the difference that there was between the top, like Cloud9 and Epsilon and us. Like, we came second, but really we deserved like third.
Ooh,
Like,
wow.
well, if we faced Epsilon, we would have gotten destroyed earlier, 3-0 finals.
Sure.
And if we faced Cloud9 earlier, we would have gotten 3-0 like regionals.
Do you think that you would have gotten 3-0'd by Cloud9 at
I
Worlds?
think so.
Even with
It
the momentum and all that nonsense that was going on?
we just really didn't know how to play against the really good teams like that. I don't know. All the others were like fairly sure wins on our part, other than probably Envy at Super Regionals.
And just for the record, you don't think that's all Payne's fault, right? That was a sort of a
No,
team.
that's so like a combination. At the time, we did have a Just too, who wasn't or isn't very communicative. I don't know if that's a word.
That
I'm
is
using
a
it.
word, and
All
that
right,
is how
great.
you pronounce it. A lot of people say it incorrectly. Good job.
All right. Well, we had it. Yeah. So we had a Just. He was very silent, and then he played really well, like mechanically, and like when to throw his ults down. He did really well at that.
Right.
But he just didn't talk, so he was kind of holding us back in that regard. I think he works better with denial guys because that's what I'm told.
Mm-hmm.
And I Payne's god pool wasn't really an issue at Worlds because people weren't banning out like the main
Yeah.
supports. But now this is the meta where like people are trying to find stuff to ban, and if you can ban out all the supports, then there's a problem.
And there's more bans this season too, so
Yeah,
that
exactly.
certainly doesn't help that situation at all. That was one of the biggest things that we were talking about inside or internal, I guess that we should say, like the commentators and the people in those conversations. Like that God pool is so important this season because of the amount of bans that are out there and how they're situated, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Cyclone brings in the SPL because he's pulled some weird stuff in script.
I have heard I have heard that Cyclone has been killing it with some very, very curious picks. We're talking like 0-7 in 10 minutes for the poor enemy hunter on whatever he's playing. So without
It hasn't
giving
been
too,
that bad, but yeah, he's been actually wrecking
yeah,
on some guys I didn't expect.
yeah, like without giving too much of the secrets away, that's the fun of the SPL. It's all coming, but I have heard that Cyclone Spin has been his regular old creative self, which is very, very fun. So, are you excited to go up against Cyclone in that long lane? I mean, because that's interesting. Because obviously, like, I don't know if you guys have scrimmed him personally or if it's just stories that you've heard from other teams that scrimmed him, but I mean, knowing that sort of creativity is out there, I know that there was a certain feeling when Snoopy was playing Vulcan and Mercury's in the lane. Are you like worried about whatever the hell Cyclone's going to bring, or
Not particularly because it's usually the same couple creative gods, and
right?
once you find a good matchup against it, you just like stick with that, and then it doesn't do its job.
That makes sense. So is it just I don't know, are because people always ask me, or in general, why is it always like hunter support? Why don't we see like Hades raw lanes or some nonsense? Is it just a surprise factor, or is there like actual legitimacy to bringing something weird into that lane?
Well, the something weird has to have clear. They
Right,
have
of
to
course.
be able to 1v1 a hunter, which is kind of tricky. and they need to have some kind of sustain. It's not really like necessary, but it's definitely useful, and if they have that, it could help. So there aren't too many picks that really fit the criteria. Um, I don't even know any myself. It's just,
I mean, Chalk, as always. Chalk goes in every single role, clearly. Everybody
well, yeah,
needs to play more Chalk.
I mean, we have Drelo coaching. Like, what do you think, man?
So he's on the new roster. He's still going to be coaching and helping out in that regard.
And Chalk maining, yeah.
Hell yeah! So
Drelo's our trusty coach.
So it's fun. You know, I think that Drelo, up until I don't know, like up until finals of Worlds, I really liked what was going on with picks and bans. I think that there was sort of a, you know, and you know, I don't know what the conversation was, and not necessarily asking you, but it seemed like, you know, Chaos was just always getting that jung that wasn't working or whatnot. But how much input does Drelo actually have on a day-to-day basis for the team?
Drelo does picks and bans for almost every single game. He'll do his research before the games and then after to figure out what we did wrong. So he'll set us up pretty well, and if he makes a mistake, he knows it, which I really like. And then after scrims, he'll give us like a whole page of notes, and then the next day he'll give us a whole book of notes on like those scrims and like what we did wrong and what we could like do better. So I don't really think we'd be anywhere right now without Drelo. He does all the work that would really make our lives harder.
Yeah, that's awesome, and you know the how much impact that has is like it's obvious on the surface, right? Like clearly this guy does a lot of work and he makes picks and ban work and everything. But there's like how much does that help not having to think about that shit? And you can just sort of push your buttons. Like it's sort of like a 1-2 punch of help, right?
Doing picks bans isn't exactly hard, but to have someone just know everything about it, as like, because we need to know how to place might and then pick ban,
right?
Whereas Drelo just needs to know how to pick ban, and then we just know how to place might. And we still have our influence in the pick bans because, you know, we are the people in those roles,
right?
So
of course,
we're going to be playing those gods.
He's not going to force you into AMC just because it now clears Soul. And you're like,
well, he might if he thinks it'll work. I'll trust him.
That's cool. That's cool. So would you pick something completely strange if the good doctor himself told you that
I'd
you need
probably
to play
argue it until he explained his logic, and then I'd probably pick it.
Word, yeah. I mean, from everything I've heard, it's funny because I mean, so I wanted to ask you, how long have you known Drelo, or like been friends with Drelo is probably the better question.
I think about a year and a half at this point.
Okay, because like I mean, it's funny from where I'm sitting, seeing funny's probably the wrong word. It's impressive, seeing the transformation that he's gone through. Because I mean, at one point he was like banned from competitive for a year for being mixed up in, I guess, the wrong crowd or the wrong situation or whatnot. But
the wrong situation.
Yeah, and it's just like, that sucks. It's it's a thing. But just seeing how far he's come, I mean, also the max. He says that Drelo's the best coach in the game, in his opinion. Like, that's...
I think Drelo's the only coach in the game. The other ones don't really...
Just like figureheads.
Yeah, they don't really, like, match up, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I more agree with you than I don't. I think that, when Kret was doing his thing, there was a lot of work going on there. And then if you look at Deathians, who works for London Conspiracy or Cringe Crew, I think he does a lot of the same work that Drelo does.
Name?
Yeah, about that name, dude. About that name, man. Like, I don't know. I say some funny things on a broadcast sometimes that make you shake your head, but Cringe Crew, that's what you called yourself? I don't know, dude. Like,
if we don't have a sponsor going into the season, we'll name ourselves the F Dots.
Well, that was... I didn't even realize that. I've been calling it your team all morning. Do you guys have a name you're going to be calling yourself?
No, we have a sponsor going into the season already.
You have an org?
Yep, we know who to talk to, and we just say we're 2 out of the 5 players on enemy that went to Worlds, and third coach, and an insane new jungle, insane new mid, and insane new support. And
wait a second. Mask isn't playing with you guys?
Well, Mask, he just joined the team. like January, like 20 something. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
new in terms of like
Okay.
going into the SPL.
Woo! Woo! I
Yeah, that
thought
would have been a whole new drama.
I thought you just accidentally dropped the bomb that you were leaving Mask behind.
No, we still have Mask.
I was like, oh, you picked up a just? Like, did you have problems with that before? How's that gonna
Yeah,
work this time?
Mask is banned, so he can't pick him up. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going for just number 2. So is it an organization that has been in Smite before? Or are we going to see something new? Are you phasing up, dude? Are you phasing up, or is it a team that we're seeing?
You've seen it before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I was hoping for something exciting, but it's the same old dog and dance, I guess.
Well, I asked my team before going into this, and they're like, not yet.
Yeah, I guess they,
You can probably infer all you want, but they don't want me to like confirm or deny.
I don't know if you specifically chose the word infer, but I liked it if you did. Either way, I don't know. I'm excited. I think that your new team, without like, all jokes aside, taking away your mystery support and mid laner, like, just looking at the core, like I said before, I mean, you guys were the real meat and potatoes of what, enemy brought. I think that Chaos and Pain were important, but, Salt Machine, Vetium, Mask, those are the 3 I take with me if I have to take 3.
The thing about supports is there was a lot of options when we tried to replace Pain.
Yeah.
There was at least like 2 really solid options. And then
Really?
we could have, yeah, and then we could have dug deeper and probably found one with equal ability. So that was pretty easy. Mid was a little harder because there aren't as many.
Mid slim pickings. I mean, mid is
Yeah.
slim pickings. You can find. I mean, you can walk outside and trip over a Madman Mark or a Bronx Bombers, but like when you're looking for a mid lane or I don't know, support, like you got well, PBM's playing for the Randozos now, but you got like Polar Bear Mike floating out there, and I don't know, but mid lane, like you said, that's there just aren't any good mid laners anywhere, man.
Well, yeah, when we originally made the team with Pain, it was between like I think two people, one of which was Chaos.
Right.
And we really didn't want to go with Chaos, but we had to like think about it for a second and think about, oh, this guy's kind of new to the scene. Has he really played in the SPL yet? No. Do you think he could? I think he could after a while. So it was kind of like a long shot going with Chaos, but his attitude and his drive just made everything really good.
Yeah. Well, that works out. Sounds like you guys have a good future. I ran. How much do you know about the EU scene? Are you one of those NA players that just doesn't look at the EU scene at all?
I don't really.
Oh man.
Well, it depends what your question is.
Well, I was going to ask you because if your team is as strong as you think they are, well, you're going to wind up playing these teams eventually. I was going to ask how you stack up against them, but if you don't know who the hell is on the teams, then I guess it doesn't make sense to ask.
I know who's on Paradigm and Epsilon, and I'm really not sure who else in the SPL in the EU.
Wow.
I guess we'll find out how we stack up.
That's why you have Drelo. So Drelo
Yeah.
can find out what those guys play and what they do.
Yeah, we'll just sit back and queue ranked.
Sounds about right, man. Anyway, I appreciate you coming on the show. Do you have any shout outs or anything you want to give before I let you go?
Shout outs to F Dot for having me on the show.
Hell yeah.
Have to shout that out. And shout out to the bowl of cereal that I'm gonna go eat.
Nice. The bowl you're gonna. Okay, sweet, excellent.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, fantastic. And last question before I hang up on you: when are you getting your haircut next?
I soon?
Soon? You getting a nice bowl cut on your chance?
No, it's a bowl of cereal after all.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
I know what you mean.
Thanks,
I know what you mean.
thanks a lot for hanging out. That's Vetium, previously of Enemy, soon to be on a mystery team. I'll catch you later, buddy.
See ya.
Peace. So Vetium coming through, giving us a little bit more of the info and what's going on. He's a fun guy to hang out with. So Vetium. I think that he has a good reason to be confident. That lineup, just with the three of them, sounds like stupid fun. I don't think there's anything that anybody really needs to be worried about as far as if you're a fan of Vetium or Benji. I forgot to ask him if Salt Machine was going to change his name to Benji. He changed his Twitter and everything, so we'll see how that works out. Grabowski cuts for everybody. We'll see if that actually is the direction. If you ask me, I mean, that's, like I said, that's what's been on Twitter. Vetium won't confirm anything, but I mean, that's it. It seems pretty like duh at this point. Either way, I'm excited. So we've got about a half hour. If you guys want to ask some questions, you guys could drop them in the chat. I'll give you a couple of answers as far as if you want my, opinions on matchups or, factual questions. Like somebody asked me, what time did the game start today? 1 p.m. twitch.tv/MikeGame. The day starts out with, I think, Adonis and I, before we hand it off to the Hans Nance combination. Hans Nance extravagance. I don't know. The Hans Nance Studio of Dance. What else rhymes with Hans? Nance, dance, pants, chance. The last chance for Hans Nance at the spring dance. I don't know. I'm sounding like Clyde Frazier at this point. What's the rumor for Vetium's roster? Look up Obi and the Buds. The team. You can look at Dralo's Twitter. I think is probably the best spot to find it. But it might include some of the guys from Denial, is what I've heard. You just talked to Pandivion the other day, and he said that the team was staying together. Was he just holding out on you? Most likely, unfortunately. Most likely, he was just holding out on you. Envy versus Cloud9. Who I got right now? Cloud9. Or Cloud9 is now Looney Tunes. I got Looney Tunes, man. Envy's not a bad team. They're still going to do it, but Looney Tunes is going to be one of their numero unos. Team Flex needs to win today. Bless them with my funds. I'll give it a shot. Who's my money on tonight for the NA regionals? If you're asking me who do I think wins NA regionals, I think that Problem Solved beats Randozzo's 3-0. No problemo. And Dana versus Flex will be a little bit closer. I think that one goes to Flex, honestly. But I do think it'll be a 3-1. Will production fuck up today again? They didn't fuck up yesterday, actually. It was a situation out of High-Rise's control, unfortunately. And that kind of sucks. But as far as will it happen again today, I don't think so. I think that the problem was dealt with. And at least I hope the problem was dealt with. When does the relegation itself start? EU time. I guess 6 p.m., depending on where you're at in Europe. If you're in the UK, it starts at 6 p.m. If you're in Middle Europe, it's 7 p.m. I think it's even 8 p.m. if you're all the way in the fucking Nowheresville, like Eppenderry. Aduro, I showed a picture of you. I showed a picture of you on stream. I think you were still sleeping. Do you remember way back when you and I hung out at the original, the OG Smite LAN, the launch tournament? I showed everybody what it looked like when I met the Digaduro. I'll be honest, I spent more time talking about my jacket than I did spend talking actually about you. This is me and the Digaduro. I'm so proud of this picture. I never thought I would get an opportunity to meet a celebrity like this. So I'm very happy to have gotten the opportunity. What time does Vetium play today? Vetium doesn't play. What happened last night? We had to wait. Yeah, there was just an issue, Troy. Unfortunately, just not everything goes the right way. Unfortunately, so we'll see how it works out. Dude, that jacket was so nice. It was Scotch and soda, direct from the Netherlands. Oh man, I looked like frickin' Zimstar in that jacket. Holy shit! Nobody. I was dripping swagoo in that. Look at this camel jacket. Look how dope that thing looks. Adaro can't even stand up to that jacket. Come on now. Come on now. Eastern Europe, DR. Yep. That's where Eppenderry's at. All the way out in that 8 p.m. world. Who do I think wins? Looney Tunes versus Paradigm? Looney Tunes. Woody Toon's roster is the old Sex Tank lane. It's Barracuda and Jeff Hinlet in the long lane. They've got the Boosh in mid. He'll be hanging out with Jungler and Inster. And then solo lane is Snoopy. That is a stupid, strong team. And I think Woody Toons will be one of the better teams in the league. I even mentioned that Aduro. I said, here's Aduro. Unfortunately, doesn't have his beautiful golden hair here. Your hair was very short. It was free, isn't it? Didn't I listen to the stream? What? I don't know what you're talking about. What up, Azio? Did MLC even get on the team? Yes, MLC is the new mid for Envy. Allied was playing mid. He stepped down. He retired or whatever pro gamers do. And he did not move to Miami and get chubby. He instead stayed in Georgia and joined the high-res commentary team. He's officially a part of the team. So it's now myself, Hindu Man, Adonis, Allied, and DM Brandon, the latter of two who will be casting today. Allied and Brandon get their chance in the sun. Should be a lot of fun. Woody Toons does not play today. They are already qualified in the SPL due to the fact that they have enough players from the original Cloud9 roster at their disposal. Barracuda, Anister, and Jeff Hinlow all together on the team means they actually get to keep that spot. So should be fun for them. And like I said, if they went through relegation, I think everybody would have just gotten smoked by them. In that world that they had to go through relegation, I think that they just run with it. Woody Toons are stupid strong. Even with that team, do I think they could take out Epsilon? I think Woody Toons could compete with Epsilon. I don't think that Woody Toons poops on Epsilon the way they poop on most of the other teams out there. But I definitely think that they give Epsilon a run for their money. Some of the best hunters to play in this meta, Chiron, Hoi, Neath, Apollo, they're all very strong. I think that ability-based hunters are secretly really strong. I think that Anher is a really strong character. And I think that, okay, I don't actually think AMC is a strong character, but he can do a lot of damage because hunters with Jotun's Wrath is a real thing. If you just buy all those goddamn hammers, Jotuns, Brawlers, Crusher, right? And you play an ability hunter like Neath or Anher, you start murdering people. You go and you buy Transcendence, you buy Jotuns on a Neath, and you're just shooting out these ultimates that hit for 8 million damage like every minute. It's a thing. So I think that, like I said, on the surface, ability hunters like Chiron and Neath are always strong. Hoagie is strong just because Hoagie is strong. Mark of the Crow allows him to compete with people that are a level or two above him, even, which is silly. I think that Anher is probably the underplayed god in that role. Freya's really strong with the change to Telkine's Ring, but she gets beat up by all the hunters that are popular right now due to lack of clear, so that creates a problem. And Kronos can exist in that lane, so I like them too. Expectation for Pain's new enemy team. So I don't want to say the other players are too much of an unknown, because Pain succeeded the last time with a bunch of unknown players, right? Those players weren't exactly superstars when Pain brought them aboard, so I don't think that that's the reason that my expectations aren't as high as necessarily they might be for other teams. I just think that the team, while not bad, Panda Cat, Marauder, are both very good in my eyes, and Scream is definitely not far behind. While they're good, I think that a little lack of experience on the big stage will hurt them a little bit. And also just in playing the comparison game, I just don't think they stand up to some of the other teams. But, you know, we'll see. Pain surprised everybody else last time. I don't think this team is as strong as last time, though. Thoughts on tanky Ratatasker in the solo lane? All Ratatasker does is do damage. So if you don't make him do damage, then what is he actually doing? Slowing everybody? Don't I think MLC's personality stands out differently than the ones on Envy? No, I don't, Hunzin. MLC is similar to the guys on Envy, honestly. I don't really know how to quantify that, but just getting a chance to hang out with the guys and just getting a chance to hang out with the guys, I think that MLC actually does fit in with the guys of Envy, at least a little bit, at least on the surface level. So I don't think it's a situation where it should be too much of a personality clash. What about Medusa? Yeah, Medusa works out as well. Medusa specifically, you know, she can deal with Soul decently, clear and poke at the same time. So that's fun. Why is Mast still in the SPL? Why not? Technically, he's not in the SPL, but he's with the group of Vetium and Salt Machine and Drelo, and I think they're going to find their way into the SPL. So that question will be accurate soon, most likely. But why is he still in the SPL? He's an extremely talented player that has apparently turned around his previously toxic ways. All of my interactions with Mask in the past, like, you know, resurgence of Mask being in the conversation has been positive. And I'm the guy that got on camera and called him a fuckboy for an hour. So, I don't know. I super believe that everybody, well, most of the time, people deserve a second chance. Especially in this case. A young kid mouths off on the internet? Are you kidding me? Definitely deserves a second chance. So, if that's what you were referring to, why is he still in the SPL? He's very good at the game, and people change. So, maybe it's time for Mass to get a second chance. What's the new enemy roster? Pain to Beyond, Chaos are staying, and then Panda Cat, Scream, now known as Virizial, and Marauder will be on that team. How far do I think Flexing Net? They'll be in the SPL. I don't know if they will be. I think they'll probably be on the top half of the SPL. I'm not sure if they make it to Sweden. Rat doesn't do damage, he tickles you. Looney Tunes now versus the old Cloud9 team. I think that I take... You know, that's interesting. Because I prefer Boosh to MLC Stealth in the mid lane. But obviously I prefer Omega or Baskin over Snoopy in the solo lane. So... I think I take Looney Tunes. No, I take the old C9 just because I don't know how good Snoopy is in the solo lane. I think that's really it. Because jungle mid is very important, and the jungle mid synergy is on a different level now with Andy and Boosh. But the jungle mid combination was not the best before, but it was clearly at a high level. I can't guarantee that out of Snoopy. So I think I say the old C9. Just because of lack of experience for Snoopy in the solo lane. I think after a little bit of experience, I think after a couple of weeks, I might change my tune, though. I think that might change my tune. Who's on C9? C9 now goes by the name of Looney Tunes. They no longer fly the Cloud9 flag. But that's Barracuda, Jeff in the duo lane, Boosh in the mid, Andy, and Snoopy in jungle solo. What's the opinion on Soul? Do I feel she tips the meta in a bad way? I don't feel she tips the meta in a bad way. And what's my opinion on Soul? I think she's a good tower killer. I don't think she's the end-all, be-all. And I think picks and bans yesterday in EU sort of confirmed that. I think that she's potent in lane. She obviously wins lane against nearly everybody. Don't let her go in a lane with Kepri, because then you just sit under your tower for 20 minutes. But I don't think she's game-breaking. I think that she's fine. Am I commentating today? Yes, I will be casting with Adonis today. The first matchup, which I believe is Denial versus Flex. I will have that one. Exceptions in the Smite community for second chances. Yes. I mean, Alexa, you're one of them, dude. You're one of them, dude. Right? You know, in your case, it's sort of a first chance. I always like to give people a clean slate when they join SPL because. Oh well, I'm muting my mic here. Whoops. I always like to give people a clean slate when they join the SPL because, while it's not an excuse, you should always be a respectable person, right? I don't know. Sometimes when you're just planning on being a rando, you don't act the same way as if you have to take responsibility for your actions. So, whatever troll shit you've done in the past, Alexi, whatever you're known for in the past for being whatnot, you know. If you had made it to the SPL, I would have given you a clean slate. But unfortunately, y'all got beat. But yes, I'm out off on the internet all the time. That's very true. With that said, I'm giving Jermaine a second chance. Yeah, sure. I would give Jermaine a second chance if he, made me believe that he was going for a second chance. Right? That's the thing. Mask was like, look, oops, I screwed up. Like, there was a thing. If Jermaine was like, my bad, I'd want him to say a little bit more than that, but sure. Do I know when you get a new balance patch? Nope. 3.3 wasn't enough for sure. Okay. Is there a reason they left the Cloud9 sponsor? Not to my knowledge. I don't know. All of my interactions with Cloud9 have been a lot of fun. I met Danon, who's the manager for a lot of the teams. He was very interested in his team. Really liked the guys. It's hard not to like Barracuda and Jeff Hindler, right? Like, just always constantly smiling, always positive. And actually, I met Jack a while ago, the owner of Cloud9. I met Jack at a Dota event at Madison Square Garden last year or the year before. And it was really fun because I went up to him, I introduced, I was like, hey, what's up? I commentate Smite or this, that, or a third, blah, blah, blah. What's up? And he was like, oh shit, Smite. Yeah, we have a team. Barracuda and Jeff Hindler, they're cool. Like, he like knew about the team, which is cool. Smite isn't the number one esport in the world, and I don't expect like owners that are far from the team to like know everything about them. But just showing some sort of like involvement is really cool. Any gods I want to be relevant in the meta again? As long as Najah's here, I'm good. What if Vetium got denial spot? Does that mean they will verse Flex today? Not necessarily. Why haven't we seen any smaller tournaments like with other esports? I don't know. We have a couple of community tournaments that run gem prizing usually. When did you fuck up? You didn't actually fuck up. You just hang out with that little meme crew that kind of sucks. What time did the relegation start? 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's in, I guess, sort of like 2-3 hours or something. Do you think we'll see any Kukulkan come out this season? As Shadow Nightmare. Shadow Nightmare on Team Dignitas likes to play the Kukulkan. Do I like Matty Pocket? Yes, I do like Matty Pocket. Do I think he has potential to be good? Good. We'll see. I know he works his ass off, so that's always a positive in that direction. What happened yesterday with technical issues? I can't really go into detail, but they were kind of like over our head. It wasn't like Pecky's hit the wrong button or something. Not that Pecky's ever makes a mistake. Pecky's is perfect. I love Pecky's. But, no, it was just honestly, just some bullshit. So, it should be fine today. Do these relegations really matter with all the open spots? Of course they matter. Players should be playing to win. No spot is guaranteed. We'll see how it works out. How come Team Flex isn't in the SPL? Because, and I'm not sure, wasn't Laz in the SPL with Dare to Care and Incon? Laz was in the SPL with Dare to Care. Incon was on a separate team. So, in order to keep your spot, you needed 3 players, and Laz and Dare to Care were only 2. Given the big wave of support Flex are more directly Incon received over recent events, do I think other teams feel dissuaded going to the SPL about momentum not going in their favor? I doubt it. That's a good question, though, Radioactive Parmesan. I don't think that is... It's very real that fans, like, and that sort of, like, outside momentum does impact teams and players. But with Flex, a lot of the support and excitement around that team comes from extracurricular activities. Like, and by no means do I mean to talk down about Flex. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that people are excited about Flex because it's their favorite streamers, not necessarily because they're talented. And while I think that they're talented, I think that people are more excited about the actual personalities as opposed to the actual skill level of the team. So when you're a professional team and you're going up against a team that everybody's talking about, if they're talking about them for SPL reasons, that's scary, right? Oh no, we have to go against this team. But if people are talking about them because, if people are talking about enemy because their roster changes all the time, that's a lot different than people talking about Looney Tunes because they're scary. And if people are talking about Flex because they're cool dudes, that's a lot different than saying, they're the best in their positions. So I acknowledge that that's definitely a reality, but in this case, I don't think that other pros are too afraid of what's going on there. Any thoughts for Xbox and PS4 Smite? Xbox starts up in a couple of weeks. Xbox is starting their own league, so we'll be qualifying from the ground up. It should be a lot of fun. With a trans build being the standard, why haven't we seen Cupid? Heart Bomb does hit really hard with trans. He's another one of those ability hunters that I enjoy. He's got a big team fight ultimate. Honestly, Cupid is a problem because he doesn't clear the wave. If you look at who's being played right now, it's Chiron, it's Ho Yi, it's Sol, it's these gods that clear the wave stupid well, and Cupid just doesn't do that. If you get a Kepri, sure, but it's still tough. I know. Fails. Tried to sash the Gold Fury. Any gods I needed rig boost to be viable in the meta? I don't know. A lot of the gods, I don't know. I would, of course, always love to see Chalk played. I don't really think there's many problems with too many of the gods, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd really tweak too many in that department. Do we think we're going to see any Zhang Kui? Doubtful. Zhang Kui is more of a tanky mage, like sustained damage, and these days we're seeing more burst glass cannons in the mid lane. Do you think Kronos is viable in the jungle? No, not at all. He just doesn't have any one, he needs a guaranteed farm of a lane, and two, a Kronos gank is, it could fuck you up if you get stunned and everything, but I don't know. I don't think he's a jungler. He needs more farm than that. I don't think Flex's popularity with the community gets in the way of their skill growth. Not at all. I think that I don't think these guys have a big sort of ego issue getting in the way of their play. I think they have the appropriate level of ego that you need to be a pro player. Because I think that there's a certain level of ego needed to be a pro player, but we'll see. What up, Moex? How you doing, buddy? How are you? Welcome to the SPL. Do I take that Oceans can take on guys like... Yes. I think that Oceans will be a powerhouse in the SPL. Powerhouse is probably being too friendly to him. I think that Oceans will have no problem going toe-to-toe with the strongest hunters in the world. Do I think getting go on the SPL is too hard, or is it just a lack of talented teams? Your typo's hurting me out there. Sorry, buddy. Are you feeling excited today and ready to cast like a big boy? Yes. I'm ready. I'm ready to kill it. I am excited. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to kill the stream and go grab myself some tea. Go over my notes for today. Maybe write some extra ones. We'll see what's going on. And get ready to cast some matches. I get to cast with Adonis today, which should be a lot of fun. I think 3 of the Flex guys could be considered the best in their role or damn close at least. I would disagree. I think that Dare to Care is in that conversation. I think that Laz's could be considered in a North American conversation. But, the rest I think are strong players, but maybe not the best. You've seen games where they start purely one team with 90% of the crowd cheering them on. The other team feels they can't win. I feel you on that. No, I feel you on that radioactive. And like I said, I think that where the fans are cheering from is different than what the SPL teams are necessarily afraid of. So in this particular instance, I don't think that this is a reality. Also, not for nothing, games are also played online, so crowd cheering is not irrelevant, but not as impactful as a live event. Sprint counters Cupid ult also pretty hard. Yeah, that's a big deal. I think Sun Wukong is a viable solo laner. Nika played him today. Played him pretty well. He's viable, yes. Good, maybe not so much. I think Golden Bow would help Cupid clear. Sure. But in a world where crit is not celebrated, how are you going to fit that in a build? Do I think there should be different patches for consoles since God like Circuit are difficult on console? No. Why is Vetium in the bottom corner? Oh, he was here. Now he's not. Bye, Vetium. He was here for a little too long, I guess. AMC jungle greater than Kronos jungle. I started to think about it and I got a headache. Yo, I hope so, Super Savage Shorty. I really hope so. I mean, for what it's worth, awesome to the max. Just another stream troll that flirted with pro play, that decided to go to, pay attention to school or whatnot, but he's just another stream monster. Marauder finds himself on an SPL team. My first interaction with Marauder was hanging out in DM Brandon's chat as two randos. So you wouldn't be the first, man. Work hard and go for it. Wouldn't the balance point for ADCs be to just adjust the wave clear like in Season 2 to open the field for more hunters? There's a lot of hunters being played right now. I don't think that there's a problem with the amount of hunters being played. Flex are one of the more modest teams out there, in your opinion? I agree. They've got just enough ego. Any women in the SPL nowadays? If not, why not? There are not any women in the SPL, and if not, why not? Their teams didn't make it. We had Junipera is a high-level support player. Her team didn't make it far enough in the Challenger Cup, and New Lissa was looking for a team over on the European side of things. She impressed a lot of people during the Combine, but she did not find a team. Oceans was not competitive before Moex. He is a rookie to the SPL. Really only known in the ranked scene, honestly. He hadn't played in the SPL just yet. So this will be his first shot, this split. Oceans versus Barracuda, who wins? I mean, I have to give that to Barracuda just based on experience. Barracuda's been playing the SPL for 3 years now. Oceans has never seen the big stage, so we'll see. We'll see. That's all I can say. Oceans is too big of a question mark for me to really answer that question necessarily. Ask me again after 2 or 3 times we see Flex play. I'll answer that question. How's casting with Allied? It's a lot of fun. Allied is comfortable, which is one of the hardest things when you're getting new casters. I put quotes around that because Allied's done this a couple of times, and he's casted on his home channel, which is different than professional commentary. But he's done a couple of laps before, is what I'm saying. But it's a lot of fun. One of the things that I really liked about commentating with Gandhi was I could constantly ask him about the mindset of a player, right? And I dabble with that with Brandon a little bit, but Brandon is so far moved from being a pro player at this point. His history is there, but I look to him for more commentary and deep analysis, and that mentality of a pro player is a long time ago for Brandon. For Allied and Gandhi, well, I guess it was a long time ago for Gandhi too, but the majority of Gandhi's career was pure play. So one of the most fun things I got when casting with Gandhi was, dude, it's a best of 3. They're down 2 games. What is the player feeling? Because it's easy to sit there and go, I mean, their back's against the wall. They have to win this game. But instead, Gandhi's answer is, well, I just look at this as a best of 1. Everything's kosher. I just have to win 1 game. And that sort of insight's very cool. So I like to get that. I like to be able to draw that out of Allied. And that's what's fun on my side of the desk. And then on his side of the desk, I like casting with Allied because he just knows what he's doing. I mean, commentary is a conversation, and he and I talk, and he knows how to talk to people. So when you're able to just go back and forth and cast with the way that works is a lot of fun. So Allied has definitely been fun. Do I think Flex is going to have an inconsistency problem? I think it's unfair to say that just yet. Inconsistency is probably one of the harder things to predict, I would say, unless there's players that are just known for being hot and cold. I think that Dare to Care is generally consistent, and I think that Incon is generally consistent, and I think that Laz's is generally consistent with a good upside. So, I don't know. If anything, I see them being a consistent team with I could see them staying consistently in a spot for the whole season. Whether or not that's a favorable spot is a different story. How does it feel to be F dot? Feels good, man. Feels good, man. I don't know what I didn't disappoint with, but I'm glad. Who do I think is the best shot caller in the SPL? I don't know. Andy? Raffer? Who's the best support player in my opinion? Support's weird because it's so it's so dynamic. I think you have to look at Raffer. I think you have to look at Jeff. I think you have to look at Jigs, believe it or not. Yeah. Would you be banned from PC lands from playing with an Xbox controller? No. You could play on a PC land with an Xbox controller. Good luck getting there, but there's no rule against that. When does relegation start in a Pacific time zone? 1-3, I guess 10 a.m. I think 10 a.m. is that it? Is Nika a girl? No. Nika is a male. Do I think Envy will be able to challenge Cloud9 and other top teams? Challenge, yes. Win? I don't know. But challenge, yes. You thought Kiki was a girl the way Donis was talking about his kisses? Gut feeling. Who's the best NA and EU teams? Gut feeling. I'll answer that. My gut says that Looney Tunes on top of NA, Epsilon still on top of EU, and number 2 teams, I think that you're looking at Problem Solved, Eager, Envy in NA, and then EU, you're looking at Paradigm, Fnatic. Torpedo is a interesting team. I think the Torpedo will be in the upper half, but I don't see them being a number 1 team necessarily. Do I listen to Chirac music? A little bit. I like some drill. My man's Chief Keef, of course. Of course. My brother's really into the whole Lamron crew. So I get a little bit of that out here as well. Because my brother's a big fan. But I like Fredo. I like Lil Durk. Chief Keef. I like some of it. What did Vitium say wrong? Or Vetium say wrong? He didn't really say anything wrong. I don't know why you would think that. Oceans versus Barra equals that man win. Yeah, that sounds about right. My stance on the huge shift in the Hunter meta being solidified build between crits and now more. I like that actually. I think that it's fun. One, I just don't like crit because it's RNG and I think that's lame. That's personal opinion. So it's nice to see a build go in a different direction than crit. But it's also fun because I feel like your build now revolves around the god you're playing. Like Apollo, build those Devo gloves and attack speed because you're gonna your way through everybody. But if you're playing Neath, buy a Jotun's fucking Wrath for all I care. Right? I like that the builds changed based on the teams. Yeah. Nulissa is an SPL level player. Super rigged. I don't know what you mean by that, but Nulissa can definitely play on an SPL team. Pern comes in my chat and just drops that carrot. Feels pern, man. Feels pern, man. What's my mid lane shock build? Boots, Jotun's Transcendence, and a good sense of humor. Who's on Fnatic right now? Zeros, Maniac, and Reels. Rumor has it that Jiffy and Big Man Tings will be joining them, but I don't know how true that rumor is. I feel very confident about Team Eager looking at their roster. I like everybody in their positions. Divios might take a little while to get back into form. DJ Pernicus has always been one of my favorite players in the league. Sometimes he makes curious decisions, but we'll see how that works. Zatman has been working on being over-aggressive, and he's always been one of my favorite hunters. Aurora, just always been one. Like, I love everybody in those positions. Eager is probably the team that I... like, Eager, a lot of my eyes are on Eager. I'm very excited for that team, put it that way. I don't necessarily think that Eager will be the #1 team in the world, but I am probably the most excited about that team, I would say. Incon was the old support for Envy. Kiki is now the support. Laz's was a mid laner once upon a time, but more prominently a jungler. So Laz has moved back to his mid lane position. Laz has never really played solo, to my knowledge, and definitely not during Season 1 when Game Hunter got his pentakill. What do I think of Baskin's new team? I think it's one of the best teams in the world. What happened to Craddy? Got a job doing QA for Paladins. Where can you view the results of the Relegations? Esports.smightgame.com. What players I'm excited to see as upcoming top players? I'm really excited to see Divios come back. I'm really excited. I always get excited to see Renz play, despite the fact that he doesn't always win. He's just super enthusiastic. Divios as well, super enthusiastic, loves to play the game. I personally enjoy watching Zatman and DJ Pernicus play, so I'm excited to watch them play. I'm excited to watch Epsilon play in general, specifically adapting, and Raffer. And to shake things up, I am excited to see Carino come back into the SPL along with Ninja Bobat. I think those players have always been, Ninja Bobat specifically, has always been kind of fun to watch. SPL isn't about skill anymore, it's about connections. I mean, yes and no. Just do it. You could always do things the old-fashioned way and make a team from the ground up through Challenger Cup. But getting on a roster, sure, the people can be inclusionary. Is there any team in the SPL at this point that are just completely blown out? No, which I'm really happy about. Justice and Elevate left a lot to be desired. Denial was number 7, but didn't necessarily get shit on, and Myrmidon's okay. But I think with Torpedo and Leftovers taking those spots in EU, that we shouldn't see another Justice. And on the North American side, I also think the level of competition has gone up. You better hope I'm lucky enough to get into another. We'll see. Have a good night, Radioactive. Any person in the SPL I feel like should be playing a different role. Of course, I'd like to see Snoopy play mid. Or Hunter, even though he doesn't like Hunter. I don't know. That's a strange question. I like that question. But probably just Snoopy because he's out of position. And then, 6 months down the line when Snoopy's the best solo in the laner in the world, I'll eat my hat. But whatever. Yeah, Aurora and Zatman. We'll see how that works out. Eager needs anger management. You don't want to think about what will happen if they lose a game. Oh, wow. I didn't know you knew that team so well. Based on the name, how many games is Cringe Crew winning in the SPL? If teams won games based on names, they would be the worst team in the league. That's it, man. Carnegial. That's totally it. I like the kid. I think Renz really loves Smite, and that's fun for me. Zapman is on Eager. Do I think Oceans will choke on land? I have no reason to think that. Can I explain how the Challenger Cup works? Challenger Cup works, you just get 5 players. You start up with a team, and then you play in these weekly events. Depending on how you place, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, etc., you get a certain amount of points at the end of X amount of weeks. All the points are tallied up, and that's how it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how it's placed. It's 10 in the morning. Am I baked right now? No, it's 10 in the morning. It's just 10 in the morning. I'm going to wrap things up here. Looking at Flex, is Oceans one of the top NA ADC? Haven't seen him play in the SPL stage just yet, but he looked very strong. Very, very strong. I didn't get the joke. I'm sorry, Shaq. But Oceans looked super strong, so I'm excited for that. We'll see him play today. He'll be taking on Denial, which is within the SPL teams trying to defend their spot. And then Randozos versus Problem Solved will end the day. That should be a fun matchup as well. So thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. I'm going to... I might take a nap. I'm either going to take a nap, make an omelet, eat some yogurt, or take a nap. I'm not sure. But either way, at some point, I'm going to get dressed and put on a suit. But for now, I'm just going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. And I will catch you guys later. 1 p.m. Twitch.tv/MikeGame. Peace. And much love to you.